Lock your doors, dim the lights, and don't answer if your phone rings after midnight. Welcome to Whispervale After Dark. At exactly 2:17 in the morning, the phone inside room 307 began to ring. Not once, not twice. It rang continuously for almost 3 minutes. The strange part wasn't the sound, it was the fact that room 307 had been locked for over 20 years. No guests, no electricity, no telephone line, nothing. Yet, every few months, someone staying on the third floor would report receiving a call from room 307. Some answered, some didn't, but every person who answered checked out before sunrise, and none of them were ever willing to explain why. Until one man finally agreed to tell his story. What you're about to hear was taken directly from his own journal. Whether you believe it is entirely up to you. It was raining the night I checked into the Ashcroft Hotel. The kind of rain that makes empty streets feel completely abandoned. I'd been driving for almost 8 hours. My phone battery was nearly dead, my GPS had stopped working, and the only building I could see was an old hotel standing alone at the end of the road. The sign above the entrance read, Ashcroft Hotel. Half of the letters had fallen off. The place looked abandoned, but the lights inside were still on. I should have kept driving. Instead, I grabbed my backpack and walked inside. The lobby was strangely quiet. No music, no television, not even the sound of a clock, only the rain hitting the old windows. Behind the reception desk sat an elderly woman. She looked up, smiled, and before I could say a single word, she quietly asked, "One night?" I nodded. She slowly pulled out an old guest register. Not a computer, not a tablet, just an old leather book filled with handwritten names. As I signed my name, I noticed something strange. Every single guest who had checked in that week had checked out except one, room 307. There was no checkout date, no signature, nothing. I pointed at the page and asked, "Did they forget to check out?" The old woman looked at the register for a few seconds, then closed it, very slowly. She smiled again, but this time, her smile didn't look friendly. It looked forced. She slid an old brass key across the desk. Room 312. Then she leaned closer and whispered only one sentence. "If your phone rings tonight, whatever happens, don't answer it." I laughed, thinking it was just a strange joke. I picked up my bag and started walking toward the staircase. I had no idea that warning was the last normal conversation I would have that night. Room 312 was small, but surprisingly clean. An old wooden bed, a cracked mirror, a lamp beside the window, and an old black telephone sitting on the nightstand. I remember thinking, who still keeps a landline in a place like this? I ignored it, locked the door, turned off the lights, and within minutes, I fell asleep. Then, at exactly 2:17 in the morning, the phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I opened my eyes and stared at it. The receptionist's warning echoed in my head. Whatever happens, don't answer it. The ringing stopped. Silence. I let out a breath. Maybe someone had dialed the wrong room. Then, the phone rang again. This time, it didn't sound normal. It sounded closer, as if it wasn't coming from the phone, but from somewhere inside the room. My hand slowly reached toward the receiver. I don't know why. Curiosity is a strange thing. Sometimes it's stronger than fear. I picked up the phone. For 3 seconds, No one spoke, only slow breathing. Then, a voice finally whispered. It sounded exactly like mine. Not similar, not almost the same. It was my voice. And it said only one sentence. Don't look at the hallway. He's waiting for you. The line went dead. At that exact moment, something outside my room took one slow step across the wooden hallway. I froze. Every muscle in my body refused to move. The footsteps outside stopped. Whoever was standing there wasn't walking anymore. They were waiting. I kept staring at the door. Seconds passed. Then, 3 slow knocks echoed through the room. Knock, knock, knock. No voice, no movement, just silence. I wanted to convince myself it was another guest, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. The hallway outside had wooden floors. Every step should have creaked. But after those knocks, there wasn't a single sound, not even breathing. I slowly walked toward the peephole. Every step felt heavier than the last. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear the rain anymore. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. No one. Just a long corridor stretching into darkness. I stood there for several seconds, trying to calm myself. Then, without warning, the old elevator at the end of the hallway opened by itself. The doors slid apart very slowly. No one stepped out. But something inside caught my attention. A small brass room key lying on the elevator floor. Attached to it was a faded metal tag. 307. Room 307. At that exact moment, the elevator doors slammed shut, and somewhere behind me, inside my room, the telephone began to ring again. The ringing wouldn't stop. I turned around, but this time, the phone wasn't ringing on the nightstand. It was ringing from inside the wall. Every ring sounded muffled, as if someone had sealed the telephone behind layers of concrete. Then, the lights flickered. Once, twice, and suddenly, everything went dark. For a few seconds, the only thing I could hear was breathing. Not mine, someone else's, right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The room looked exactly the same, except for one thing. The room number on the inside of my door no longer said 312. It now read 307. I stumbled backward. "No," I whispered. "This isn't possible." I rushed into the hallway. The corridor had changed. The paintings were gone. The lights were dimmer. Even the wallpaper looked older, as if I had stepped into another time. At the end of the hallway, I saw the old receptionist. She wasn't moving. She simply stood there, looking directly at me. Then she quietly said, "You answered the call." Before I could speak, she raised one trembling hand, pointed toward my room, and whispered, "Room 307 was demolished 20 years ago. No one has stayed there since the fire." Then she disappeared. Not by walking away, she simply wasn't there anymore. I didn't wait. I ran. Down the hallway, past the elevator, straight toward the staircase. I wasn't thinking anymore. I just wanted to get out. I pushed open the front door and stepped outside into the rain. My car was still there. I threw my bag into the passenger seat, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. I never reported what happened because who would believe me? The next morning, I convinced myself it had all been a nightmare. Exhaustion, stress, lack of sleep, that's all it was. Or so I thought. 3 days later, I was unpacking my backpack. At the bottom, I found something I had never seen before. An old brass hotel key. Attached to it, a faded metal tag. Room 307. My heart stopped. I knew I had never taken that key. Then my phone vibrated. One new voicemail. No phone number, no caller ID, just a recording. I pressed play. For several seconds, there was only static. Then, a familiar voice whispered. It was my own voice. Slowly, calmly, it said, "You checked out, but I never did." The recording ended. I immediately called the hotel. The woman who answered sounded confused. She said, "Sir, there has never been an Ashcroft hotel on that road." I drove back the very same afternoon. The road was exactly where I remembered. The trees, the bridge, everything was the same. Except the hotel was gone. There was only an empty field and one broken stone, half buried in the grass. On it, someone had carved 3 numbers. 307. Some people believe every haunted place leaves something behind. A voice, a memory, or a key. So if you ever find yourself staying in an old hotel and your phone rings at exactly 2:17 in the morning, whatever you do, don't answer it. Some places are forgotten by the world, but they never forget the people who enter them. Sleep well. I'll see you again in Whispervale After Dark.